Welcome to the Behind the Bits podcast. Your host, Scott Curtis, wants to learn everything he can about stand-up comedy and take you along for the ride. Scott and his guests talk serious about comedy in every episode. Behind the Bits will uncover knowledge from different perspectives on subjects such as writing and performing stand-up comedy, as well as booking shows and the comedy life. If you're thinking about becoming a stand-up comic, already in the comic game, or a comedy nerd, Behind the Bits is the show for you. Now, let's get Behind the Bits.
Hey, BTB buddies, the Larry Hankin interview was epic, and it was epically long because it needed to be. I've decided to make it a two-parter so you don't have to devote 2.5 hours to listening this week. Part 2 will be out next week. This is a very, very good one. Thanks for listening. My guest today is Larry Hankin, and you know him from his roles as Mr. Heckles on Friends, Doobie from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and Joe from Breaking Bad and El Camino, and so many more great characters. I mean, the guy has done so much. But did you know that he got his start in stand-up comedy, and that's why I'm talking to him. And he opened for people like Woody Allen and Miles Davis, and he also started the iconic improv group, The Committee, with his friends. And we're going to learn all that and more from Larry Hankin. Hey, BTB buddies, the Larry Hankin interview was epic, and it was epically long because it needed to be. I've decided to make it a two-parter so you don't have to devote 2.5 hours to listening this week. Part 2 will be out next week. This is a very, very good one. Thanks for listening. I can't believe it. I've got Larry Hankin today. Larry, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I just had to shut the window. There's fire engines going on. Maybe my house is my apartment is building is burning down. I don't know.
Well, we don't want that to happen.
Yeah,
so
no,
I'm just
broadcast anyway.
Yeah. So I'm obviously I told you I'm stoked to have you on the show. This is a big honor for me, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure, actually. I like talking. So. Good.
Well, I like listening, so we're going to get along real well. So I want to talk about the fact of, I mean, you went to school to be in industrial design, and
yes, I did.
And you obviously steered away from that fairly quickly. Can you tell me what the path was right out of college?
Okay. So I graduated, and as an industrial designer, and I was offered a job at General Motors designing future cars, for a lot of money, man.
Yeah.
I mean, to get out of college and start at like, I don't know, $75,000 or $100,000 a year.
Wow.
But I was a good student. I mean, I really, I have a little OCD, so I get into things.
Uh-huh.
And I'm also dyslexic, so I get into things. So, but my best friend in college, Syracuse University, was Carl Gottlieb. I don't know if your fans know who Carl Gottlieb is, but he wrote all the Jaws movies, or at least 3 of them.
Yeah. He co-wrote The Jerk too,
and he's written a lot of movies, but he was my best friend, and he said, so I get this call from General Motors, and I'd gone to see them. They'd flown me and a couple other top students out to Detroit, gave us a tour, and I have no censor. I have no boundaries, man. I mean, verbally.
Right.
So I just speak my mind, and anything that I didn't like, I told them, well, that's kind of crappy. And they didn't like that at all. And I noticed that, like I would pick up something and I go, what is it? It was like a modern car somebody had made,
Yeah.
Upper desk, we were taking a tour and to pick it up and he goes, oh, you really like that? Look, I said, no, actually, it looks ridiculous. And he goes, that's the head of the department made that one.
Oh.
He tried to be, but I could see it.
Mm-hmm.
It registered. This is going nowhere. But I see, here's the thing. I don't care.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's certain things I do care about, but if I don't care about it, then I don't care.
Right.
But if I do care, man, I care.
Right.
Well, I didn't care about him or his head of the department's model or anything. And then he said something which is really cool. He said, all right, well, now we're going to see the CEO's lunchroom. I don't know, cafeteria.
Uh-huh.
The CEO's cafeteria. So he takes us in there, and it's beautiful. It's like an upscale New York restaurant, man. Really cool. That impressed me. I really was impressed. So I said to him, there was like 4 or 5 of us students. I said, wow, man, we're going to eat here? He said, oh, no. This is where the CEOs eat. You don't eat here. I said, what the fuck are you showing it to us for? So that got to him. But I didn't, I kind of knew I wasn't going to be here. I kind of somehow, I didn't know where I was going, but this wasn't my life that I had thought. I was a good kid, and I'd fulfilled my obligations to my parents by going to college and graduating with honors.
Right.
And I thought, okay, that's it. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah.
I'll see you.
So
I went home, and then luckily, Carl Gottlieb, who was my friend, called me, and he said, hey, man, I want to go to the village. I want to be a writer. He had been in the journalism school. I had been in the industrial design school. And so he said, yeah, let's go to Greenwich Village. And I said, man, I'm there. Let's do it. So we bought a car for $150, an old car. I lived on Long Island and drive up to New York. And we got this. Anyway, that was college. Okay, so we went to Greenwich Village, and we got this apartment for very, very, very cheap. It was a 6th floor walk up, and or fifth floor walk up with no windows. It was a one window opened onto an atrium, the hole in the middle of a building.
Yeah,
which faced a brick wall. So we were there, but that's my start, and I didn't have a job now. I mean, he had a job. He had already written letters ahead in newspapers in New York, neighborhood newspapers, not New York Times or anything like that, just little neighborhood papers. But he had a job, and he was reviewing movies, which he wanted to write movies. So he was right in the ballpark. Right. I had no idea, man. I didn't care. I was free. I didn't have my parents to. I had fulfilled all my obligations to my parents. All.
Yeah.
So I was free, man. And the only job I could get that I wanted, because I wanted my days to be free. I mean, that was the plan. My days are going to be free, and I'll just kind of, I don't know, maybe draw, or I don't know. And so I got a job as the only job I could get, actually, was a job as swabbing a bar after 2 a.m. From 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. When the chef came in. It was like a bar and grill in Greenwich Village, in the neighborhood, just a walk away from where we lived. So that's what I was doing. I for about 2 or 3 weeks, and I was stealing food from the grill, from the restaurant part of the bar, and I would always wear a raincoat to work. And I got that from like the Marx Brothers, from Harpo.
Yeah,
with the spoons. He was always stealing spoons and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where I got the idea. I thought, okay, I'll wear a raincoat, and then I would go to the restaurant part, and then I would like a rasher of bacon, and I would stick it in my back thing, and then I would wait by the door. See, they locked me in. I never understood that. But they locked me, I guess, so nobody could break in, but I couldn't get out.
Yeah.
They locked me outside. So I had to be there from 2 until 6. And then the morning chef would come in, he would open the door, and I would go out. But I would always wait right by the door, right by and as soon as he opened the door, I didn't want to talk to him, or he would bulge or anything like that. I was starving. And then Carl would steal food for me. When he went to review movies, I guess they still do it, but then because he was reviewing movies, the same movies that the New York Times guys were reviewing, and the Mirror guys, the big ones in all the neighborhoods, and and what they did is they served you wine and the frozen shrimp, the cold shrimp bowls, and with the dip. So the wine, and they get you like little liquor, and then you go in and you mellow and you see the movie.
You like the movie better.
So,
yeah.
And they also had, which was interesting because it counted, was in those days, they actually served real linen napkins, not paper napkins, man. So he would take these linen napkins every time. He'd at least go to 3 a week. Review me. Take a linen napkin, take a handful of cold shrimp, put it in the napkin, wrap it up, put it in his pocket, and he'd take it home for me to eat. That was so he was feeding me. and he was paying, if I missed a payment on the rent, he would kind of shove,
Yeah.
So he would pay it for me. So I would save the linen napkins. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah.
And after about, a month or two, I would hang them all over. They were just white linen napkins. And then finally one day he came in and said, look, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I thought, well, what have I done? Why all of a sudden you're not going to take shrimp from me? And he said, because my suit is smelling like fish. That's why. And, yeah, he only had one suit.
Yeah.
So that was the end of that. And so I had nothing to do during the day, which was what my plan was, but I didn't realize the reality of that.
Yeah.
Which is, man, it's a long day if you have nothing to do, I mean, it's because you can hang out with this guy and that guy, but they have things to do. So,
right.
But there was open mic nights in Greenwich Village, and that's where we were, and that's where we lived, and that's where I worked at night. So I would go right before going to the bar to clean up the duck boards and stuff. If I never see another peanut shell, I will be very happy. So I would go to the open mic nights because they were free, and you could just sit there for an hour or two, just listening to comedians and folk singers, coffee, and I thought I was funny in high school. I won funniest in high school 2 years in a row. So I thought, I'm funny and I can do that. Sure. So I get up on stage and I was god awful, man. I really was. It's not the same. Funny is not the same as hanging with your friends.
Yeah.
As getting up on a stage and people want to laugh and that's what they're there for. But, and here's the great but about, and I just to this day, I love open mic nights because you only have 3 to 5 minutes back. And sometimes you would get 10 if you were going to close and you had a good shot the other night, let you go a little longer, but 3 to 5 minutes. So people will listen to you for 3 to 5 minutes, even if you're bad, they knew you're going to be off, and maybe the next guy will be really funny or be a good folk singer. So they had patience. If I was bad, nobody booed or said get off the stage. They just sit there, until you were finished, and you get off. Next person. So it was really cool, and I was really because. Just talking and being funny in talk and hanging out, you're just picking out stuff that you want to. But on stage, you have to have specific stuff. You can't ramble until they left. You only have 3 minutes, man, which was even more pressure. So you're less funny. Even if it was funny when you wrote it, it's not funny now.
Yeah.
So, but thank God, because I am a funny person. I mean, sooner or later you start to get the gist of it. And so after 6 months of doing open mic nights, I was opening for Woody Allen. So cool, man. Yeah. And it was all because of open mic nights, the patience of the people, in the beginning to sit there and not. So I didn't have any guff,
Yeah. What was your material like back then when you got good enough to open for Woody?
There's only one joke I remember.
Okay.
And it's not a joke. It's not funny.
Uh-huh.
But to tell you how bad I was. The material that I had was like, I was sleeping last night and a mosquito was buzzing around the room, which does happen,
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't go to sleep. So it was buzzing and buzzing. So what I did was I convinced the mosquito that I was a psychiatrist, and I asked him to lay down on the couch so I could psychiatry him. And then when he laid down on the couch, I slammed the couch up against the ceiling and crushed him. And that was where I was at.
Uh-huh.
That was the kind of humor, ridiculous, trying to be ridiculous and funny. But if ridiculous isn't funny, it's just stupid.
Yeah. Well, that's actually funny. And
what?
That's actually funny. And that non sequitur stuff is
now,
good.
400 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hit somebody who thinks it's funny. Well, they didn't. That's all I can say.
Okay.
Funny or not.
Yeah.
They sat there and waited for the next guy or folks.
Now you talk about your time on stage. Did you actually like write stuff out before you went up, or did you?
Never did I ever write anything, and I didn't know because I didn't know how to write a joke.
Mm.
I didn't know how to write a setup and a punchline. Because all of my stuff, when I was funny in high school and just with anybody, or just with Carl the day before I got on stage and wasn't funny, we would just, I would make the humor out of what was going on, out of the reality. I would, out of what you were saying or what was going on, and you just put things together in your mind and you say it, or you find the mistake or the loophole or the irony in what going on. But to write it, you have to create an event, and I couldn't do it. It was the OCD, it was the dyslexia, it was the ADHD, it was a lot of things. So I couldn't. But even when I was opening for Woody Allen and Miles Davis and The Lovin' Spoonful, and I was doing arena events, and I still never wrote anything. What I did was the way that I made my material. I was a stand-up comedy star for at least 2 to 3 years. I was top of my form, opening for really star acts. Is that I never wrote anything. What I would do is you would have your hunks. You get on stage and you and you go, oh, I got 10 minutes of really cool stuff. All right. So if I knew I had 10 minutes, eventually I would break it out and tell you I'd have to open for a star. You'd have to have 30 minutes. But, 10 minutes, what I developed is, okay, I got 10 minutes. So I would say, I would get up on stage, and I discovered this, that an audience will, I guess it was open mic nights that turned me on to this. An audience will listen to you for approximately 2 minutes, even if you're not funny. They're just sizing you up. They'll listen to you. Maybe he's going to say something interesting within a minute or two. They have patience for 2 minutes. After that, you better pay off, because then it's forget it. Then it, boo, get off the stage. Where's the Kingston Trio? So there's about a definite line, so what I would do is I would talk about my day for 2 minutes. I had it down in my head, some sort of timing thing. I would just get up and just, flow. Just whatever. And if it wasn't funny, bing, you just go into your first joke. The good stuff, the 10 minutes. And sometimes if I was funny, just off the top of my head for 3 to 4 minutes, you just keep going. You just play the role. You just keep going. And then when they stop laughing and you see, all right, they're losing interest, this new stuff that I'm just doing is not cutting it anymore, you go into your 10 minutes.
Right.
And so now, I don't know if all comedians have this, but I do. And I'm sure other comedians do. You have a photographic memory for laughs. In other words, if I'm talking to you in a show, talking to the audience, the first 3 minutes, first 2 minutes, first minute, blah, 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 no less, blah, 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 funny laugh, funny laugh, blah, 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 funny laugh. Okay, and then they stop laughing. I'm going into my 10 minutes. Boom. The next night, for whatever reason, I will only remember those 3 laughs. So I would start with, a minute of just blah, 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 blah. And then I would pull in those 3 laughs or what I thought were the 3 laughs.
Yeah.
What I remembered of the night before's opening monologue when I got laughs, that would just come to me. And it would be perfectly formed from last night. I had a photographic memory for, oh my God. Oh my God. So I had a photographic memory for, I'm going to throw this away. Okay. I had a photographic memory for laughs, and I think all comedians do have it. So I never had to write anything because of that little, moving belt of information or laughter. I would just pick out the laughs. And I did that for years. Never writing anything but that formula of 2 to 3 minutes, remembering the thing from last night, putting it in, moving it up, and just on that conveyor belt. And then I would save the funniest stuff for laughs and get off. Now, as I became more and more proficient at this, I started to bring in critical thinking, which I never even thought I had. But the critical thinking that's when the cops started to show up.
Yeah.
The critical thinking was where Lenny Bruce met the law.
Yeah.
You start talking about religion and drugs and the law, and I thought all that was funny to me.
Yeah.
And it got bigger laughs. Interestingly enough, the more outlaw you get, the bigger laughs you get.
Yeah.
Until you're opening for the Kingston Trio, which is not my crowd.
Yeah.
And then guys come at you with a beer bottle upside down in your hand across the dance floor because you're in a nightclub opening for the Kingston Trio. And he's just saying to you as he comes towards you, get the fuck off the stage and bring on the Kingston Trio. Whoa.
Oh.
That's a new, whoa, you just turned the corner, Larry.
Did you make fun of Baptist or what?
You what?
Did you make fun of Baptist or what?
No, I was talking about genitalia.
Oh, okay.
And religion and, Baptist. No, naked. I was talking about that God. God did it. The word God.
Yeah.
I had a bit where I had a microphone and I just took a little person. So, here's the thing about religion, which I don't understand, and he said, here's this little guy, and I put him on the top of the mic stand and I would talk to him. I go, hey man, how you doing? Wow. That's really unique. I made you. It's really cool. But what's that between your legs? Boom. Guy with a, hey, what the fuck, man? He said, get the fuck off. Yes, he did say fuck. Get the fuck off the stage and bring on the Kingston Trio. So I'm talking about a little naked guy. What's between your legs? Get the fuck off the stage. So I got off the stage because this guy was, as Lenny said, a starker.
Yeah.
With a beer bottle upside down in his hand. And I just, okay, man, you got the stage. It's yours.
Wow.
And then, so I was fired.
Yeah.
But I before I was fired, I quit.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's the one thing that probably saved my sanity is I don't care if I'm fired. I've been homeless in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was cleaning duck boards before, I was opening for the Kingston Trio. Mm-hmm. And man, my roommate was stealing food for me. What the fuck you mean,
Yeah.
Get off the stage.
Yeah.
Oh, you're fired. Not get off the stage. I'm getting off the stage.
Right.
I don't want that. But if he says you're fired, fine, man. I've been there. I've done this.
Yeah.
No biggie.
Were you physical when you were on stage? Did you like act out when you were doing?
Yeah, no, I would act out the stories or the characters. Like, get off the stage and I would hold the beer. But no, I wasn't physical. Because that mic is your key.
Yeah,
you go too far away from that mic.
Yeah. Well, you have a. I mean, you're extremely tall, especially for. I mean, you were born in 40, and you're 6'4", right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm 6'5", and I was born in 64, and I'm in like the 99th percentile. So you're in like the 99.97th percentile of height.
What?
Did your height play a factor in how crowds responded to you?
No, except my manager did.
I
was discovered by Bob Dylan. And that's a fact. Because I was in the Village and he was in the Village, and he would come see me. I didn't know this until he told me. But he would come and see me all the time. And he brought me to his manager. Man, I got a blank on it now. Oh, man, that's so sad. I've never forgotten his name.
Yeah.
He brought me to his manager. And it'll come to me later. So he brought me to the manager, and he asked me he asked his manager to come and see me. He said, I want you to handle this guy. This guy's fucking funny, man. So he brought me down, and then so I went to his office. And no, what did he do? Oh, he invited me up to Bearsville to hang. So I was with the band and Dylan and that whole, there's all those people. And one day, Robbie Robertson come to me and said, we're doing a movie, and Bob said you could write a movie. I don't know where that came from. I never told him. I guess he assumed, oh, he's funny. Write a movie. You can write. So that's funny with geniuses, because they can do things that other people can't.
Yeah.
Everybody can do that.
Yeah.
So Robbie called me, at home and said, hey, Bob said you can write a movie. Why don't you write? And I said, yes, because I always say yes. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I wrote this kind of Ballad of Reading Jail by Oscar Wilde type of treatment. It all rhymed for like 4 pages of this God who comes to Earth. And, it just, it was cool.
Yeah.
But it's not a movie.
Yeah.
Writing is writing. That's what I thought. So anyway, one day Robbie comes to my house and he says, hey, what's going on with the writing? I mean, it's kind of long. You got anything? And I said, yeah, I finished it. Here it is. So I gave him, 5-6 pages. I said, it's a treatment, He said, okay, no, that's fine. We need a story. So and he didn't read it. He just took it and he split. He just showed up on my door, said, you got the thing? I go, yeah, here. Boom, and he left. Next day, he comes to my door again, because I had rented a house up there. Because now he had Warner Brothers, who was working with Robbie, paid me money to now do this treatment. So I had money and I rented a house. He comes to my house the second day and he says, knock, knock, knock. Oh, Robbie, hi. I said, wow, you read it already? Yeah, did you really write this? Yeah. Mind if I show it to Bob? Yeah. Okay. And then he just, boom. Okay. Didn't know what was going on. Then the next day, I got another knock on the door. And I open the door, and there's Bob and the band. Bob said, did you write this? I go, yeah, what's going on? He said, get in the car. So we all piled in this station wagon, the band, Dylan and me, and we go to his manager's house. And he wakes his manager up. It's like 11 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning. Not bad, But they wake him up, the manager. They wake him. He comes down in his pajamas and bathrobe, and we're in the kitchen. And he goes, whoa, what's going on? He says, Larry just wrote this. You should sign him. Sign him. He's a funny guy. And he wrote this, and he needs a manager.
Uh-huh.
So and Bob hands him this thing, this writing. And he doesn't look at it. He just takes it in his hand. And he goes, and I guess, and they all said, yeah, he's funny. He's funny. You should sign him. You should sign him. And this is the answer to your question. He said, he's too tall to be funny. And that kind of put the kibosh on the whole party.
That's funny.
You don't know what to say. I mean, they couldn't say, no, he's not tall.
Uh-huh.
Then no, but he's funny. No, he's too tall to be funny.
Uh-huh.
So, and then he said, I'm going back to bed. And then he just went back to bed. So they handed the thing back to me, and they said, well, and Bob said, he said, well, then how about getting this published in Playboy, he said. And he says, no, I'm going back to bed. Boom.
Uh-huh.
He said, well, and then Bob says to me, he says, well, that was my shot, man.
So that was nice of him.
So they drove me back home, and that was the end of that. So I went home. Years later, I met the guy who paid me, the guy from Warner Brothers, the producer who paid Robbie to pay me.
Uh-huh.
A whole lot of money, thousands of dollars.
Uh-huh.
And I saw him at an airport, and I recognized him, and he saw me. So I just went over to him. And as I'm walking over to him, and I hadn't talked to him or seen him since way back a couple of years since that happened, when but he knew exactly why I was walking towards him. Because before I got to him, he said, it's okay. Don't worry about it. He knew I was going to, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. No, it's okay. Don't worry about it. We wrote it off. Don't worry. Yeah. So, yeah, being tall, I think I knew finally what he was talking about. In movies, the shorter you are, the funnier you can be, because you can beat up tall, you can win over tall people.
Yeah.
Which is what Charlie Chaplin's whole shtick was.
Yeah.
He was so tiny that he was always a hero.
Yeah.
You always get these big fat guys to be, the enemy.
Right.
So I think that's maybe but as far as stand-up, no, there's a lot of tall stand-up comedians. Yeah,
there is. Yeah, there certainly is now. And it's funny how, you've been in movies and TV for a long time. It's funny how you don't understand the height of the people on the screen until I see you come up, because it's all relative to you. So,
right. Everybody else is the same height. So
yeah.
You don't know.
And so everybody's a head shorter than you. And I'm like, okay, so they're all about, 5'7", 5'8", and
right.
And there's Larry.
I didn't realize that until in the beginning of my career. That did play a big factor. They would say he's too tall for the star he's going to be with.
Yeah.
He can't be. That was a rule. You can't be taller than the star you're with. Mm-hmm. That was a rule for a long time. It doesn't apply anymore. Mm-hmm. But back when I first started, he's too tall for the part.
Yeah.
I couldn't, and there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
And like there's a big time Shane. You know the movie Shane?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gary
the
Cooper.
Star of that. Who is that? Who is the star of
Gary Cooper?
No, not Gary Cooper. It was his father was the head of a studio.
Let me see if I can find it.
Anyway, whoever the star of Shane was, the guy who played Shane, he was very short. Mm-hmm. Very short. Now, when movies first started, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people in Hollywood know this, that a lot of the stars in the black and white, silent movies definitely, and then when silence started to go black and white, all the stars then in that era were short and had big heads. This is true. And that was one of them, like, he's too tall to be an actor. He's short and got a big head. He can be an actor.
Wow.
And the reason was for the close-ups.
Uh-huh.
And when you're walking and doing like a cowboy, you know, where from your belt to your head, that's called cowboy. Well, you want to have somebody with a big face. I don't know the real reason, but it's true, and it's been published that way. I mean, in other words, it's a little known but well documented fact.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't, you know, that all that fell away.
Right.
But for a while, so I mean, things that you couldn't change had a lot to do with whether you were hired or not.
Yeah.
Being tall, having a big head, being short, being tiny and funny. Weird rules, man. But yeah, it comes into play.
Yeah. So tell me about the committee and how that started.
Well, okay. So I was being pulled off the stage by the police is how that started.
Okay.
I was opening for the Kingston Trio. I was doing my God stuff, my genitalia stuff, my legal stuff. And I got into the God thing actually with the little guy on the thing. It seems that God and a little guy, that was what tipped off audiences. You'd get him off the stage, call the police. So I was in the middle of my bit. Everything was going great. I was opening for Love and Spoonful. It's a big arena, Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri. Big time. And laugh. And I go, okay, now let's talk about God. Wow. I just felt, you know, about, I don't know, 2,000-3,000 sphincters just shut like that. And I just kept going, but I felt it, man. There's a thing you can just feel. And I said, okay, and I'm going to get this little guy, and I put him on a thing. Nothing, silence out there. And I said, oh, what is this little thing between your legs? Boo, get off the stage. Boo, get off the stage. I mean, boo. I said, and I just was blown away. Okay, Kingston Trio, beer bottle, a Starker. I understand that. College students?
Yeah.
Rock and roll? Come on, man. So that's what I said to them. I said, wait a minute. You know, you're college students. What is a rock and roll show? What are you booing? How could you boo? They shut up for that.
Yeah.
You know, me talking to them, that was cool. Whoa, hey, he's talking to us. Wow. So I said, you know, so they calmed down. They shut up. Very cool. And I said, yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous. Okay. So where was I? Oh, yeah. Okay. So what do you got between the boo, boo, boo? And they erupted. Now they started pulling the armrests off of the seats in this arena, in this auditorium. So the wooden armrests, they pulled them off and were throwing them up on the stage, the first 3 rows.
Oh, no.
Get off the stage. Boom, get up. And the Love and Spoonful off in the wings there going, no, keep talking. What are you, crazy, man? No, stay out there. They wanted a riot. They wanted publicity.
Yeah.
So they kept, oh, man, a riot, a real riot. So I'm going, no. And I go, wait, stop. And then they stopped. I go, no, this is all ridiculous, you know. And they said, so I said, I'm gonna go on with this anyway. No. I said, okay. I made a deal with them. That's what stopped them. I said, okay. No more God stuff. I'll do the clean stuff. And I, you know, I chose what was clean. What was okay, and I did that, and then they were fine. They blah blah blah. So I went about 10 more minutes, and I started to get the big laughs that you expect and stuff. So when I got this really big laugh, I go, okay, now we're going to talk about God. Well, that pissed them off, man. And I started talking about God, and then they got really angry, but they had no more, you know, armrests to pull off. They had thrown them, they were all littered on the stage. So I said, because they had the lights on, you know, in the arena, they had the lights on. I see in the back row, no girls ever threw anything. I didn't see any girls throw any. I see in the back row, the guys in the back rows are pulling their armrests off and passing them down. Here, here's ammunition. The caissons come rolling down. And then boom, boom. And as they're throwing this and passing the stuff down, I see a phalanx of cops, 10 cops on each wall aisle, come marching down up on the stage. And I just stood there, in silence. And they stopped throwing the stuff, watching the cops come up. And they just, both of them, not angry. I don't think these cops understood why they were taking this person off the street. They weren't there for the whole show.
Yeah.
They just arrived and they said, he's up there now. And they just piled in. And there was this one guy on stage, and they had calmed down when they saw the cops. So there's nothing going on. And they come up and they just very nicely took me by one arm each, a cop each, guarded by 18 other cops.
Yeah.
And just walked me off the stage to the applause of the audience. And then they held me back there. Didn't hold me. They just stood by me. And I go, it's empty back there. There's nothing going on back there. Uh-huh. So the other cops split. The 18 cops just left. Mm-hmm. And I'm standing there with these two guys. I said, what's going on now? And they said, we have to guard you until the Love and Spoonfuls start playing. And I go, why? And they go, well, because you're going to run out there and do it again. So we just stood there while the stage crew put up the musical instruments, and then they started to play. And once they started to play, they said, all right, bye. Yeah. Thought, bye. That was it. And bada. So it's just a long story to how I got, but I enjoy these stories.
Yeah, that's a great story.
So we fly now, because I was with the Love and Spoonful, and I was part of their group. Uh-huh. So we flew together and took buses together. Mm. We're going up to Northwestern University, which is up in Michigan. So we flew up, get on a bus, go to the hotel, get out, we check in. And as we're going to the elevators, 3 men stand between us and the elevators. And these are the 3 men. A police captain, a priest in the white collar, the whole shtick, white hair, white collar, and a gentleman in a suit with white hair who turned out to be the dean of Northwestern. Ah. And they say, is there a Larry Hankin in the group? So the 2 managers who were with us, there was 4 Love and Spoonful, Larry Hankin, and 2 managers. Okay. The 2 managers immediately stepped between the group and the 3 guys. Mm-hmm. And they say, what is this about? And they say, we've had a phone call from Washington University, from the dean. And they turn to us immediately and they say, and they didn't mention my name. They just pointed like this. They go, I want you gentlemen to go up to his room. They pointed to me, but they didn't want to say my name, so it would identify me. Uh-huh. They're really cool. They said, go up to his room, lock the door. Don't let anybody in except us 2. Okay. And we just silently went in, got in, and they just guarded. And now in the room, they're the Love and Spoonful are just like, you got to do your show, man. You got to do your show. You got to do it, man. But they wanted a riot so badly. Uh-huh. I mean, after a while, I was thinking, well, man, riot may not be that bad. Yeah. For you guys. And I said, well, wait a minute. For me, that's not good. Yeah. No, comedians for riots is not good. Yeah. I'm thinking Lenny Bruce, man, the cops just murdered him.
Oh, yeah.
It's literal. Well, no, what's the opposite? Literally or figuratively?
Figuratively, yeah.
Figuratively. So we stood, and then finally there's a knock on the door. I know, who is it? It's us. Okay, they let us in. All right, we made a deal. Here's the deal. Okay, they don't want you to go on, they said to me. They don't want the comedian to go on. Definitely, they say, we go, why? I said, the dean of Washington University called the police here and said that the Love and Spoonful have a filthy-mouthed comedian opening for them. In those days, a filthy-mouthed comedian was like the death warrant.
Yeah.
That was Bruce. That was a filthy mouth comedian, and I was a filthy mouth comedian. So they said, "You got to go on, man. You got to go on." And they said, "Well, here's the deal. The deal is he can go on if he doesn't do any filthy mouth material. The minute he does any kind of filthy mouth material, they're shutting out the lights and the concert is off. So it's up to you guys. We're going to dinner." And then they split. Party. So we're discussing now. You got to do it. You know, I said, yeah, but it's, it's good for you, but not for me. But I said, well, fuck it, man. I'm going to do my act. Let's see what happens. You know. So I went out and I just did verbatim the act I was going to do for Washington University. Nothing. They just laughed, and it was nothing happened. No riot. No, they only laughed. What a bitch. So that was that. But I called my manager, who by now was Woody Allen's manager, Jack Collins. And I said, "Hey, Jack, man, I can't go through this. I'm a middle-class Jewish kid. I'm not prepared for this cop thing and this bullshit that's going on. It's not fun anymore." I was doing it for the fun, not for the money. The travel. I was doing it for I love making people laugh, and it's not So he said, "Why don't you join Second City, and then you own the theater, and you talk about the same thing Lenny Bruce talks about, but they throw the people out, not the actors out." And I go, okay. So I auditioned for Second City with Robin Williams, as a matter of fact. Strange. Cool. Coincidence, I don't know. So I auditioned for Second City, and I got in, and then I was there for 2 months, 3 months, and we had too many people in the company. It was 9 people. It only works for 5 or 6 people because it's all improv, so nobody knows when they're not going to go on. And there's 9 people. Sometimes people don't go on at all. So they let us go, me and Jack Burns. They let us go. And I was couch surfing in Chicago with no income for about 2 weeks. And then a guy named Alan Meyerson, who I auditioned for Second City in New York, came through and said, where is there a guy comes? I was in the bar. I hadn't worked, but I would hang around the theater. They were the only people I knew in Chicago. So I'd go to the theater every night and just hang out until I had, went back to my couch, whose couch I was sleeping on. And a guy comes in and says, "Is there a Larry Hankin down here?" I go, "Yeah, me, what?" And he goes, "There's a car outside. They want to talk to you." I go, "Oh, now what?" I go out. It's a snowstorm outside, Chicago. And there's a car out there. It's a station wagon. It's packed. It's got trunks and all kinds of bullshit piled on top. And the car is jam-packed with people and 2 kids. So like 7 people at least, minimum, in the car. Basically, it was Alan Meyerson, the director of the committee, his wife, 3 or 4 other actors and 2 kids and all their stuff on the top. And they say, "Hop in." What do you mean hop in? I mean, I knew them from the audition, but where are you going? "We're going to San Francisco. We're going to start the committee. We want you." And I go, "No way, man. I mean, you got a theater?" "No." "Well, yeah. Well, we're gonna raise money out there." "No, look, send me a ticket. I'm going back to New York. That's the only home I know. So send me a plane ticket. I'm not going. Goodbye." And I went back inside, and they pulled away. And then, sure enough, 2 weeks later, I got a plane ticket. So I just flew out because I had nothing going on. And I flew out to the committee. And in the 2 weeks, I guess they had called ahead and had done all this pre-work before they even drove to Chicago for me. And they had a theater being started. They were building. They had hollowed out a Chinese supermarket, a small one, a mart, but enough for a theater, big enough for a theater, 500-seat theater. And they were building it. So we rehearsed in this theater and also with the mime troupe, which was a famous company in San Francisco already. Mm-hmm. And we shared a rehearsal space. And that's how the committee started with, and the rule was in the beginning, once the theater was built, we rehearsed for 2 or 3 months, and the theater was finished. And we opened the theater, advertised. And the rule was, the first rule was don't quit your day gig. I didn't have a day gig. So like anybody who had a day gig, don't quit it. We don't know what's going on. Uh-huh. And then the second thing was, if there was more people in the audience than was on stage, we didn't have to do a show. So we did that for a while. There's only 4 people in the audience.
Yeah.
Well, we have 6 people in the show, so we don't have to go on. Yay! And we still get it. Yay! So it was like $150 a week, I think we were getting.
Yeah.
So that went on for a while, and then one day, man, and I'll never forget this. This is one of my big days of my life. We were inside rehearsing the afternoon of a Saturday night show. We were rehearsing a couple of new things. So we were inside until the box office opened. So we were in from 3 till 6:30 or something like that. Mm-hmm. So right before that we broke up to, go have dinner or something like that, you got a half hour before the show starts, whatever. I said, I'm going to go outside for a second, just before they broke it up. So it was about 6:30. I go outside, and there is a line around the block.
Wow.
I'm not talking about around the corner. I'm saying the end of the line was here, and the beginning of the line was here.
Yeah.
Around the block. I mean, it blew my mind. I ran across the street just to see the whole thing. It was amazing. And I ran back inside, and I got my best friend at the time, Hamilton Camp, he was a folk singer at the time. Gibson and Camp, folk singer, Gibson and Camp. Hamilton, come outside, quick. What, man, what? No, you got to see this, man. And I took him outside. Holy cow, line around. And then we walked the line. We walked all the way around the block, just saying hello to people, just all the way around the block. Just mind. Uh-huh. And from then on, that's all we had.
So did somebody discover you and the word of mouth got out, or what happened to make that happen?
Or the committee in particular?
The committee to fill up that theater.
It was just word of mouth, man.
Yeah.
Because also it was a Berkeley and the Berkeley Steps and Mavio Savio. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was the 60s, man. We were there a couple of months before the 60s exploded. And when it exploded, and I'm talking about exploded, we were on the cusp of the new comedy, the new. I mean, it was Nixon. In other words, everybody was hating everything that was going on. The 60s, the Vietnam War, and everything like that, and we were doing that stuff. And all of a sudden, Mavio Savio at Berkeley was saying, hey, man, Vietnam is bad. Nixon is bad. This is bad. This is bad. The committee is doing that kind of stuff. Let's go see him. And boom. So the 60s came through the door. Every star in the United States came through our door for 5 years, easy. From 1960 until 65. And then we just kind of leveled off, and I stayed the whole time. I was there from opening doors to the closing doors, 10 years. 10 years, the 60s to the 70s. By 67, we were just getting, crowds and stuff, like a normal theater. We were doing fine. But it wasn't, we weren't, the taste of the week, the clothing of the week, the uniform. But in that time, Penny Marshall, like every star in Hollywood, was flying up because we were as famous then as Second City. But people in Hollywood who wanted to go to see Second City, that was like a plane flight and a hotel thing. And it was like 2-3 days. It was a weekend.
All right.
for San Francisco, you could fly up for $35 round trip. Fly up in the afternoon, see the show. You could actually sleep in your bed at night if you wanted to get a late flight, or you just sleep over in a hotel and fly up and fly back the next day, which they did because they could see the next day. You fly up late Saturday afternoon, see a show, go to a hotel, then tour San Francisco for half a day and fly back. It was like a little, mini vacation. So all the stars. So we were known down there, and we were being flown back and forth. Hey, come on down, do a TV sitcom. But Penny Marshall was the one who discovered me. She specifically said, get Larry Hankin down here because she was doing Laverne and Shirley, and she wanted to, the episode that she wanted me for a specific episode, was Laverne and Shirley were going to their prom. And Laverne, Penny Marshall, there was a dance sequence, and she wanted a physical comedian. And she said, Larry Hankin is she mentioned it. Tall. She said he's a tall physical comedian, which I am. So she said, I want to dance with him, get him down. And I wanted that to be so. And they told me that, So I went down and I did the thing. And the rehearsal was really funny because we were rehearsing a dance routine. Now, she's a physical comedian. She really is.
Oh, yeah.
She's more physical than she is like verbal, but TV sitcoms are verbal. So she did that.
Right.
But she wanted to make it physical, like dips and twirls. And, she wanted to make a thing out of it because she thought, well, Larry can do that. So let's do it. So we're rehearsing, and she wanted to do this dip where I dipped her and I dropped her. Now, she knows how to fall. She's really a good physical. She probably could be a stunt person if she ever wanted, back in the day. She could have been a stunt person. So she said, just drop me. So I didn't want to do that because I was afraid I would injure her. I was just looking out for my job, and I don't know. So I said, well, what about if I dropped you on the couch? In other words, I dipped you by the couch and you fell on it, and then I fell on you. See, then I don't hurt you, but then I can get myself into the joke. She said, fine. She just wants to be funny. She doesn't care about who does the thing. I mean, she's really great. So we're rehearsing, and all of a sudden, we hear, hey, what's going on? And is that like, well, no, okay. Something else I just spoke about. She said, hey, what's going on? And you look up, and it's the producer, director of the show, Gary Marshall.
Gary, yeah.
Her brother. He says, what's going on? And she says, well, we're rehearsing the dance thing. She says, no, you're not. What's this touchy-feely going on? I go, what? And she says, what are you talking about? She says, that's there with the couch thing. He's laying on you. What is this touchy-feely? No, there's no touchy-feely here. And this is a dance routine. We're rehearsing a dance routine. He says, well, you rehearse the dance routine with no touchy-feely. That's all. Okay, you got it? And I look at Penny. I go, I mean, it's her idea, I didn't say that, but I'm looking at her like, what's going on? And she just shrugs and she said to me, he's my older brother. It's like family.
Yeah.
Okay, so we cut that. I don't,
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, the crap that you run into, there's no way you can think ahead to that kind of, critical thinking doesn't work in situations like that. Just what? What? So that's how okay, so I do the show. Okay. And then I get a call about 3 days later after it aired. And I think it was even before it aired. But 3 days later, I get a call. Hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm an agent. Do you have an agent? No. I hear you didn't have an agent. That's why I called. Would you like one? Yeah. How about coming in? I go, okay, fine. And so I went in and we just talked for, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. He goes, you want an agent? Yeah. How about me? You're fine. Okay. Let's go. Boom. And I said, wait a minute. How do you even know that I exist? I'm in San Francisco. I just came down here for this little thing here. He says, well, what we do is, which I thought was kind of cool. He said, me and my partner, we just, every once in a while, go to production companies. We in person, we don't call. We go in person and we say, any new interesting people come through, that you auditioned. Any interesting people come through that don't have an agent? And they said, yeah, there's a guy, Larry Hankin, tall guy. He was racing. He's kind of funny. He doesn't have an agent. We just called him. He's okay. And then that's how I got into show business. That's how and then the money was so good. And that's the trap. The money is so good. You drop your thing.
Yeah.
I stopped doing stand-up. I was making so much money. I didn't have to, I didn't have to work.
Right.
I didn't have to tour. I would just wait by the phone. And every 2 or 3 weeks, I would get a job, or 4 weeks, and you get enough money so that you can save, through the dry times. So it didn't, they pay you a lot of money, but over a year, it doesn't come to a lot of money at all, because you're paying rent when you're not working all that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just, an ordinary show, but at least I didn't have to tour, which is kind of, because I was alone. No agent or nobody was booking my flights for me or getting hotels and stuff. So that's how I started doing TV sitcom I think to the detriment of my psyche. After a couple of years, it started to depress me because I was saying other people's words, and I made my bones by working off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And I'd been very successful opening for really big acts. I did the Playboy circuit. I worked Las Vegas. And then but they're paying you so much money, you think.
Yeah.
In one lump sum. There you go, well, I don't have to do this anymore. So it was like a vacation for the first year or two. And then you start going, and then sometimes you're standing on a set. And I'm standing on a set looking at myself in the mirror. And I'm going, what's a grown man like you, Larry, doing wearing this stuff here? Why are you saying these words? These are not your words. So it starts to, and then finally, but then, you get something like working with John Huston or Bill Hader or Larry David or John Huston, or, you go, well, it's worth it. Kind of. Wow. I mean, because I was never in it for the money. I was always in it for cool stuff that I thought was cool, like working with John Huston. I didn't ask what the salary was. John Huston, you got to audition for John Huston. I'm there.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Thinking about what, obviously the saying other people's lines and working off a script and stuff like that, that was what brought on the depression. But you have, you've gained a respect within the industry that, don't people give you a little bit of leeway now? They let Larry Hankin be Larry Hankin.
Yeah, but in the beginning, they're paying you a lot of money, so you just keep your mouth shut and do what we say. Right. But you're paying me so much money, and then the go-to argument is, then don't take the job. Okay, I mean, I get it. Yeah. So what are you complaining about? You're saying words you don't like? Why did you take the job? Because they paid me so much money. Then shut your mouth. And I mean, it's not that. There's no anger in Hollywood. That's my anger. That's not theirs. They're not. They just say, just say the words and hit your mark. They're very nice. They're very nice people. Very, very social.
So how
it's
does
it's just not how I work.
Yeah.
But to answer your question specifically, if I keep the word of either work with the rules and the director or don't take the job.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I don't like saying these words, but I took the job, so I know my place.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm in front of the camera, I'm serious.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I do for a living.
Right.
So if the camera is on, I'm a professional person.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no getting around that. I mean, I can joke with you all I want in these stories. But if there's a camera and they turn it on and they say action Larry, I'm not Larry. I'm the character, and I do what tells the story of the narrative.